KCast Radio, your home for Kure and Klapow in the mornings. Classic rock the bone. Since we were talking about Sammy Hagar being asked to join the Grateful Dead, I thought I'd play some there. It's called Touch of Grey, another one of those great classic rock songs you don't hear anywhere else. Listen to us.
He wouldn't fit.
No. Well, I mean, no.
I mean, even they would have to change.
No.
Well, I guess Van Halen changed a little bit. But
I mean, they're a jam band, but not that type of jam band. No. Get the KCast Radio app. It's fantastic. Thanks to thousands and thousands and thousands of folks. We were in, set a record last night, 22 different countries last night for our AC/DC show. And, of course,
20 different countries for the AC/DC show. Yeah. I thought you were the IBM man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
That's very cool.
And then we have the Champions Chat later on tonight, partnering up with IBM and IBM International. We are a local radio station here in the Birmingham area, but because we're on an app, we're worldwide. You can hear us anywhere, anytime. And you just looked at my hair, something sticking up.
No, I didn't realize you got a haircut.
I did. I got one a couple of days. I got a haircut about a month and a half ago, and it got a little shaggy. And I'm just like, man, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I just want to put some water in it and go. You know, I'm a clean guy.
I have no problem with that.
But it's really short.
I can wash my hair with wet wipes.
Yeah, as you probably should.
I do.
So get the KCast Radio app. You can listen to us 24/7. The Kure and Klapow show's on every Monday through Friday between 6 and 9. And, of course, we'll be on Fox 6 later this morning at 9:30. Mike Dubberly, our good friend, has got an idea. He wants to do one with – what the hell are you looking at now?
Your microphone's lost its balls.
It's right there.
Does it have its balls on?
It's a little close. Before we jump into domestic violence, laughing at funerals, and youth pastors saying – hang on to your taters.
Oh, it's Thursday. Come on,
I know,
man.
right? I want to wish some happy birthdays. Not one, not two, not three, but 5 different rock and rollers celebrating birthdays today. Artemis Pyle, drummer for Leonard Skinner, turned 73 today. Marky Ramone, the Ramones, drummer. 2 drummers turning 69 today. Jason Bonham, another drummer, turns 55 today. Joe Satriani, great guitar player, played with David Lee Roth Band for a while, did a little tune called Surfing with the Alien, was fantastic. He turned 65. And Linda Ronstadt, you want to take a stab at how old she is today? Man, she was so smoking hot when she had them roller skates on, that one album. Woo!
You need to see. Have you ever seen the documentary on her?
I have not. I hear it's fantastic.
It's really fantastic because it pulls in so much classic rock, West Coast classic rock. Anyway.
And, of course, you know the whole deal. She used to play backup with the Eagles. And
that's exactly. 75.
She would have been great in the Eagles.
76. Well,
she's 75.
She's 75. She didn't play backup. She brought Glenn Frey to do backup vocals for her.
She did. Yeah.
That was the whole thing. The Eagles were like at the time they were nobody.
Because you don't see any rock bands with just like, if you have a female in a rock band with guys, she's always the singer.
Yeah,
always the singer. Now she would certainly sing, but could you imagine if Linda Ronstadt had started with the Eagles in the early '70s and stayed with the band? If that, of course, she wasn't. She wasn't invited to do so, but could you imagine what would have happened there?
It would have worked. Because the thing about the Eagles. I know Don Henley and Glenn Frey sang most of the leads, but they're one of those bands. I never thought about this. Are there how many other bands are there where they distribute the leads as much as the Eagles? Is there anybody? You know what I mean? Because Timothy B. Schmidt sang,
not
Randy
too much.
Meisner.
The Cars did it with Benjamin Orr and Rico
Kasich,
but he didn't sing. Now when Ben sang, they were hits, but he sang. I don't know, 10 or 15 songs that we know of with the Cars, but it doesn't happen very much.
So that's what I'm saying. Linda Ronstadt.
Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, The Who. Pete Townsend, obviously. But not a lot. To your point, it doesn't happen a lot. But it'd be really interesting. I don't know if anyone, depending on the band, most people don't go, "Hey, I wrote the song, so I'm going to sing it." In a lot of cases, they'll go, "I think you would sound better on this than I would." Yes. And depending the pitch and the octaves and everything else. But it's because I think you want to be the singer in a lot of cases. But you're right, Glenn Frey and Don Henley. And then you had Timothy B. Schmidt, you had Randy Meisner, who was a singer, you had Joe Walsh, who was you had J.D. Souther. Every stinking dude in that band sang.
I know.
And then to throw Linda Ronstadt in,
maybe it'd be too much.
I don't know if you could get any bigger than what the Eagles already are.
Right.
But it certainly would have been really interesting to see what that band would have sounded like. But
she never, at least from what I'm watching in the documentary, obviously it may have been, but that was never a discussion, right? She was already a hit.
She was always huge. Yeah,
and she was living in the same I think Santa Monica. I don't know if she's living in the same She may have even been living in the same damn apartment building as Jackson Brown and all of them. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Look, I need a backup singer. Hey, I heard you." I think I swear to God, I think she lived in the same apartment building. She's like, "I heard you guys practicing. Hey, you. Hey. Mm-hmm. Can you come and step up here?" Yeah.
What I think is really interesting about the Eagles is, if you watch that documentary, which is like a 6-hour documentary, the CNN is fantastic. And make sure you watch the one that's unedited because they get after it. And there's a lot of pretentious fighting and stuff. And I mean, they're screaming at each other on stage. But I mean, when they brought Joe Walsh in, who was already an accomplished solo artist, I thought, wow. And of course, he came in, destroyed a hotel room the first night they were on. They're like, Joe, we don't really do that. He's like, no, we're doing it now.
Yep.
And obviously, there was a much different feel there to the Hotel California album than to anything they'd done previously. They were trying to kind of get away from that country, take it easy, peaceful, easy feeling kind of music and rock up a little bit. And you can certainly hear that in the solo efforts from Glenn and from Don Henley. But then they have Vince Gill in the band right now. I think it's just like the fact they're bringing in someone who's so solo accomplished already and that they're totally cool with that and they see the bigger good in doing that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Well, he helps them stay sounding, in my opinion, like the Eagles. He's huge, right? He's a huge star.
It would have been really easy to bring in a cat to cover for Glenn Frey. Yeah. There's a guy out there that could have, Black Jacket Symphony could find a guy to sing Glenn Frey, and they would have been fine. But instead, they brought in a guy who was, and I'm not saying Vince Gill is as big as the Eagles, but certainly in the country music genre he is.
He's not a no-name, I'm blanking on the name, the guy who sings for Journey now.
Yeah.
Who's amazing, but he's not a name in
it. He sings better than Steve Perry
did. He does.
Great stuff there. Happy birthday. Also, Damian Lillard turns 31 today. Rembrandt.
He's dead.
He is. If you could tell me how old he would have been today, I'll give you $1 million.
God, I don't know. 200 years old.
415 years old.
Wow, I'm bad.
Yeah, and Jesse Ventura, who looks like hell, by the way. Jesse Ventura.
Major.
Well, he needs to cut the hair. I mean, he just looks like a.
Somebody's got to let it go. He's got 74.
But he was a governor.
74.
He's 70 today. So, I want to get into this story. I think it's interesting. I've done a lot of stuff in church. I did a lot of stuff with the CYO and the Catholic Youth Organization, the Archdiocese of Cincinnati growing up. I was a Catholic boy, and I was an altar boy, and we went to church every Sunday. If I had the flu, we were going to church at 8:30 Mass. My mom was a distributor. We did the whole thing. And so it's a big part of my life, and it's who I've molded to be in a lot of different ways, and I really liked it, and it's probably why I didn't get laid till I was 22. We were sitting there holding hands, singing "Love Is the Answer" on weekends, while other kids were out there, smoking joints and drinking at the age of 15 or 16, and I was sitting there talking to kids about safe sex and stuff like that. Anyway, so Bryce Brewer from Spokane Valley, Washington, has been a leader at a Christian youth camp for 20 years. And on a frustrating shopping trip for his fiance's 10-year-old daughter, he realized there was a rule he was making girls in his summer youth camps that was just not right. What do you think he was making the girls do in the youth camps?
Wear bras.
You're close. He had a deal called the no produce rule, which I'll explain to you in just a second.
Oh, jeez.
But there was a rule that you had to wear one-piece bathing suits. You could not wear bikinis. And Bryce, who has a 13-year-old daughter, said girls should not be responsible for men's actual sin of lust, and boys should be responsible to not be gross. In other words, he's like, what's the big deal with girls wearing what they're comfortable in? It's on the boys.
Wait, was it his rule? You said it's his rule and he changed his mind?
His rule, yeah. His rule is like you can't wear two-piece bathing suits at this camp.
Okay.
You have to wear, and a lot of girls wear two-piece. Hell, my 9-year-old wears a two-piece.
Well, that's a big deal. She
and so it got to the point where some of the girls' mothers were like, "Hey, we're running a little late. I got to stop and get a one-piece bathing suit for the daughter because obviously they do swimming and everything else." So he published an apology, and I want to read it to you. And I think it's
good for him.
And I think it's great. And he said, rather than tell the girls what they should be wearing, he's sorry that I didn't teach the boys to control themselves.
Amen.
I know, and I'm like, okay, this is good. So here's his apology he wrote. He said, "So I need to issue an apology. I'm using some humor here too. I've been a youth pastor for 20 years and have issued the ridiculous ultimatum to my female students at summer camp, one-piece swimsuits only. First of all, I am truly sorry. Number one, I am sorry that I didn't teach boys to control themselves. Number two, I'm sorry I laid the weight of purity on girls' swimsuits while she was swimming and not on the boys' responsibility to not be gross.
Love that.
Number three, I'm sorry to all the girls that frantically searched for an appropriate one-piece so that some male youth pastor could deem them appropriate. Story here, I accompanied my fiancée and her daughter as we desperately looked for a cute one-piece that would be appropriate for camp. It was hard, it sucked. I am sorry that we have deemed a young woman's body as something that needs to be covered and let young men's bodies be okay to be seen.
Wow.
I am sorry I ever let this be an item of discussion, usually led by men, at any youth leader meeting. This must have been awful for my female leaders and students to be part of. I'm still a fan of the no produce rule. No buns, bananas, or breast need to be seen. But why are stomachs overtly sexual? Why is a little cleavage sinful? Why are women meant to feel they're responsible for men's actual sin of lust? So I'm sorry to all students, especially female, that we subjected to our rules. I'm sorry to female students as they desperately tried to search for swimsuits in the days leading up to camp. And I'm sorry if you felt sexualized by us telling you to cover up. I am sorry I didn't teach boys to be men and laid that responsibility on young women. Female students, wear a swimsuit that lets you have fun. Male students, stop being disgusting and control yourself. Youth pastors, male especially, stop being chauvinistic and making female students feel bad for having breasts. Christians, live like Jesus.
Ooh, oh.
Don't you love that?
The Jew says, amen. I can see him on Oprah right now.
How do you think
I can see him on Oprah. I can see him on... Small town in Spokane?
Spokane, Washington, I'm not sure.
Okay. Like...
This has been going on for 20 years. We talk about how you can staunchly believe in something and you're not letting go and it's not even debatable, and how you believe in something, and maybe we're talking about the vaccine, for example. And how all of a sudden something just clicks and you're like, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. Well, after 20 years of having this rule, he decided, you know what, it's time to make a change here. And this is not our culture. This is not some mind-blowing change going on in this world. This is just right. And he's like, why in the world are we over-sexualizing a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old for wearing a two-piece and having to wear a one-piece when really it's on the guys to be respectful and not gawk at them and be gross and creepy. I love it. I think it's great.
I don't even know. I mean, it is the way that it should be. Mm-hmm. And I'm always interested, I really am, in, as a male, I'm always interested in other males' responses to that. Mm-hmm. Like, what could you say, truthfully, that would be an argument against that? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, literally. I don't even know what you would say. I mean, the only place I could even go is, well, we can't help it.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
See, that, listen, I say this all the time. We can do better. Like, to me, what's embarrassing about the chauvinistic, sexual harassment, all this, besides the fact that it's not right, it's horrible. It makes us, as males, really look pathetic and not powerful.
Yeah.
That's the part I can't wrap my head around. Like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. What are we doing? Why are we doing? The fact that you have to make a rule, and the fact that this is what it is.
I do like the rule though.
Which one? No buns, no bananas.
No produce rule. I mean, you have to draw a line somewhere. You hope that the mothers of the daughters who are bringing them to camp, maybe they are developing early. We know that something is happening with a lot of girls. They're developing 3 or 4 years earlier. That if in fact they are developing very, very young at an age, that you want to be respectful. It's a Christian camp. I mean, I get that. And it is now socially acceptable, culturally acceptable to have your ass hanging out of your swimsuit.
Well, but you can have a one piece and have your bun showing.
Well, absolutely. And that's why there's still the no buns rule, or no bananas. Make sure that you're wearing shorts that are somewhat baggy and that boys can't wear Speedos to a Christian camp. But you hope the parents would be behind that and say, listen, this is a Christian camp. Yeah. If you want to go out with a family and you want to go, I don't know why a young man would be wearing a Speedo.
Because they're in Europe.
Because they're in Europe. They're
practicing for the even the Olympics, they're not wearing Speedo.
We got Gillian Anderson not wearing bras. I mean, so who knows? But no, I love this. I think it's fantastic.
It's as it should be. It's as it should be. And
I wonder how Christian camps in Alabama would. I wonder if there's rules in Alabama Christian camps.
I mean, I understand, like you said, I understand appropriate attire, dress codes.
Yeah.
But again, the problem you have is there's more rules for the women.
Yeah.
Because like you said, for men, it's no bananas.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, and it's pretty. Again, it's the same way we dress. Like, I mean, we've talked about this. You and I have to decide in the morning: do we have long pants or short pants?
Yeah.
And what kind of material it's made out of?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. We don't have to make any. And the top, right? We got about 3 choices: short sleeve, long sleeve, collar, no collar, jacket, no jacket, tie, no tie. That's it.
Mine's just clean or unclean.
Well, but that's what I mean. But if you think about it, you're a woman.
Yeah.
Not only do you have more options, but then you have more opportunity for somebody to say, well, that's not appropriate.
Oh.
Those pants are those. That should be the rule across all youth camps.
I'm with you.
Independent of the religious thing.
Yeah.
I really like that. I also, to be honest with you, I also like, and you can push back, because again, it's the Jew saying this, what would Jesus do? Yeah. And that's the part I get really frustrated.
And that's why he finished with Christians be Jesus-like.
Be Jesus-like.
Yeah.
Jesus wouldn't lose his mind.
You have a WWJD bumper sticker on your quote?
No.
Okay.
I could, though.
You could. Yes.
Well, one of my favorite things to do is when people make quotes about, I go to Jesus is in church, or something about Jesus going to church. Mm-hmm. And we always love to say Jesus didn't go to church.
Yeah.
Never went to church.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
He went to temple.
Yeah.
Now he may change the thing, but he didn't go to church.
Here we go. Yes.
Here we go. I'm waiting. I'm going to get. Can I post that? You know what I'm going to say that? I'm going to post that on social media. Hi, I'm a Jew.
Yeah.
Jesus never went to church. Ever, 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 ever.
You want to get some followers, do you?
Yeah. No, I want to lose them.
No, that's my go-to with at least one of my kids.
Well, I think it's
okay. Would Jesus act like this right now?
Right.
And boy, I mean, it shuts it down quick. They're like,
But that works for Jews.
Yeah, sure does.
I mean, it works for would Jesus do this? And that's, it's funny because particularly young people who are sort of figuring out the religious part, it's like anything else. They're moving in one direction and they forget about the foundation, which is, if your foundation is Jesus, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Jesus would not, be racist. Jesus would not be homophobic.
Yeah.
And it's an easy way to come back to actually get you out of parenting. Actually, that's really interesting. Ooh, I wonder, my kids are grown. You could use this. You don't have to parent.
Oh, I want to parent.
No. But you could just you don't have to say this is what I think. You just say this. What would Jesus do?
Yeah. Like I said, that's the last thing I use.
It's not the first thing, right?
I haven't done a timeout in 6 or 7 years. We're past that. But at some point when something's happening, I'm like, okay, what would Jesus do in this particular situation? Man, it shuts it down every time. It does. But it's because we go to church every week and we try to do the right thing.
That's so interesting.
Which is good.
I'm fascinated.
We got some great new sponsors here on KCast Radio. I mentioned to you before the show, I want to thank Birmingham Gaston Budweiser, one of our main new sponsors.
Nice.
Met with them yesterday. That's huge. We love to be associated with them because I respect them. I'm loyal to them. I've been a participant in their products for a long period of time. Time changes, but they do a fantastic job. So we're going to start with them coming up on Monday. And special thanks to Keith Nelson and his entire crew for being part of the KCast Radio family. They don't buy just everybody.
No.
So KCast Radio is part of that buy, and we really appreciate that. And I love talking about them. And also Backyard Solutions, which, of course, engineers basically everything that Backyard Adventures does. It's right off of 119. Jeff, who I've gotten to really know, I met him at the pool, super nice guy. Used to do some stuff with us when we were on the opening drive on Jocks. And I was telling him about our app and how successful it is and how big it is. He's like, dude, I'm in. And if you need anything for your backyard from playgrounds, and they can make one as unique as you want it to be. They're not cookie cutter things. There's like 60 different sets there. Check out their play set, by the way. If you take your kids with you when you go, prepare to be there for about 4 hours because they'll want to play on it. And you can. If you have a birthday party, if you want to rent the place out, you can do that. Go to backyardalabama.com, backyardalabama.com. Fantastic place. I absolutely love it. Trampolines, basketball goals, anything would go in your backyard, your driveway. It is backyardalabama.com. Backyard Solutions, of course, proud to establish the Backyard Adventures here in Alabama. They do a fantastic job. They also sell to playgrounds. They'll do schools. And their stuff is top of the line fine stuff. This ain't stuff that's going to get blown over. You don't have to worry about it tipping over. It's the heavy wood stuff. It's really, really good. It's generational, which means if you're going to move from one house to another, that needs to come along with you because that's an investment in your place, an investment in your kids' futures. Make sure you get it, keep your kids busy and get them off the computers, and check out backyardalabama.com. The Richard Sherman story came out a couple of nights ago. He is the vice president of the NFLPA. He's got charities. He's got foundations. He's a good man on and off the field. Mm-hmm. He is a Super Bowl winning player, and he's a hell of a football player. He's a free agent right now. He's not signed by anybody. He's been playing with San Francisco after his 9 years with the Seattle Seahawks. He was arrested for domestic violence, abuse. Not really sure. A little gray area there. He's still in prison. He evidently had a couple bottles of something. Was driving home and tried to break into a relative's home, wouldn't go away, and then someone called 911. Didn't hit anybody, didn't touch anybody. Cops showed up. It was very cordial, and then after they told him they're taking him in, it got ugly. He lost it, got in his vehicle, had a crash so bad that the vehicle was inoperable. So he's also being investigated for a hit and run. And that kind of premised this story here. I think whenever you see domestic along with anybody, you think, okay, someone got punched or someone got beaten up. In that particular case, it didn't. The NFL, PA and the NFL is looking into it right now as well. And I'm assuming, and by the way, there was also some tapes, some 911 tapes, where he's threatening to commit suicide during the whole thing. He basically said, "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself." And so, that's when the cops showed up, and she was begging him, his wife, begging him not to leave. Please don't leave. And he took off and then had the crash. There was another story though. Dwayne Haskins, who has been a monster bust in the National Football League, was a pretty high draft pick, and just got picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers for $850,000. Called the cops the other night while he was leaving the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. His wife, Dwayne Haskins' wife, has been charged with domestic battery after allegedly knocking out the backup Steelers quarterback's tooth in his mouth, obviously in Las Vegas. They were there to renew their wedding vows, which is kind of funny. Calabria Haskins faced a felony charge of battery and domestic violence resulting in bodily harm stemming from the alleged altercation at the Cosmopolitan. Evidently, she was out with some friends going to a show. He was out with his buddies going to a nightclub, and evidently they were supposed to hook up, and they had some type of miscommunication, and she punched him in the face. He said, "I want her out of my room." Yeah. She hit me and cut my lip. She's a former Michigan State basketball player. She told police the couple married in March and were in the area to renew their vows and celebrate with all their friends. She's due in court on August 3rd. On Sunday, though, Haskins shared a photo on Instagram of the couple flashing her apparent wedding ring with the caption, this is after she punched his tooth out, "Couldn't make you wait forever, forever, this is forever." And they're kissing
Damage
each other.
Control.
And obviously, Dwayne, who's been somewhat of a bust, has had a couple of issues of his own, partying without a mask. He was,
but he never had. Has he had domestic violence?
Huh?
Has he had any assault?
No, not that I know of. He he lost a starting job with the Washington Redskins. It was his for the taking. He wasn't really considered a real leader there, and he was fined $40,000 after violating the COVID-19 protocols. He earned a guaranteed $14 million with Washington. My point is, it really is. My point is,
what is your point?
Well, first of all, we just talked about this, man. If you're married and something gets so out of control that you have to call the law to your house, there ain't no going back.
No.
Now, if this is a situation where you've had to call like 3 or 4 times, we're going back over to the Kurre's house tonight. We have another domestic, everything okay. Because cops usually don't want to have to arrest anybody. Now I think if you show up for a domestic abuse situation, someone's got to go to jail. I think someone's got to go in. They used to just kind of go, okay, you guys good? You had an argument, go to bed, sleep it off, and call them later. But in this particular situation, I want to talk about the two-way street. That is a man having domestic violence against his wife, and then the wife having domestic violence against her husband, because a lot of guys are looked upon as wusses if they have to call the law on their wife, and she evidently's got a good punch if she knocked a tooth out.
I mean, you don't have to just punch. There's a lot of lethal. You can use a knife.
Mm-hmm.
If my wife pulls a knife on me, I'm calling 911. I'm not manning up.
Yeah. And I'm assuming in most cases this is not a first-time situation.
No, I was trying. I think I know the stats for you. Checking on the stats.
Normally things ramp up a little bit. There's a threat. Hey, listen, knock it off, or I'm going to call the cops. I just can't ever imagine calling the police on a mate of mine. Period. Whoever that would be. Well, I would hope it would never get to that point. And you can bet that if she did punch him, and he punched her back, or he tried to restrain her and bruised her by doing that, he'd probably be going to prison as well. And that's kind of the two-way street because he's an NFL player. He's a big guy. He's much stronger than she is, and it's not a good look. Somehow he kept his crap together enough that she knocked a tooth out, and he just called the cops to get her out of my room. And then they're posting pictures the next day. Much like we do with women in abusive relationships, we always go, get the hell out. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You got a black eye. Is that not enough for you to realize that this is not a good situation?
Yeah.
Yet they always go back. They always go back. We've gone through this story a million times. We know why it happens.
Yes.
We know how often it happens. In this particular case, he's the one that's got the money. He's the one that's doing extremely well for himself.
Yeah.
Or at least from a financial situation. Yet there it is the next day. They're kissing each other saying, I'm waiting for you forever. And I'm like, okay, well, what just happened here?
So when this came out, I was very interested in how common is this, right?
Yeah.
I think that's something I had no idea, so I Googled it.
Mm-hmm.
It's far more common than I thought. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. This includes a range of behaviors: slapping, shoving, pushing. It's everything.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to, now here's where it gets a little separates. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner.
Okay.
Which,
that
makes sense. But I think in different ways. Now, for someone who's a celebrity, you've got, there's a whole other set of factors that you wonder about. Is this damage control from a public persona standpoint? Now, we definitely see that same thing in a non-public way. The woman who is slapped or beat by her husband. Oh, I fell. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, particularly if it's the first or the second time, they love their partner.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't. It's not this happens. We always like to say, first time it happens, you're gone. Mm-hmm. Well, if you've been in love, if you are in love, you don't just go.
Yeah.
And so I think that part's there. Then you start doing all the rationalizations. Mm-hmm. Then you do the next part, which is, particularly on the woman's side, then you have the fear factor. Because usually the partner will say, the man, if you leave, or if you try to leave, I will hurt you. I will kill you. I own you. I think in his case, it gets super interesting because on the one hand, you could say this is an ongoing thing. Maybe. I think on the other hand, again, without looking into it, she popped him. Inappropriate, absolutely inexcusable. He wanted to, instead of hitting her back, mm-hmm. he had her removed, and now he's dealing with, okay, what do I do? Well, and so the first thing you do, this is stupid. First thing you go on Instagram, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. And then behind the scenes, he's going, what the hell do I do? What do I do? Do I get rid of her? Do I tell her I want her to go away? And let me tell you, we also...
They were there to renew their vows.
We all saw Fatal Attraction. Yeah. Most of us did.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean, just because she's female and smaller than him, she could have all kinds of threats. Again, you do this, again, flip the abuse. You say anything, and I'll sue you for it.
Yeah.
I'll have so many people come after you. I mean, we see that.
That's a healthy relationship, isn't it?
Well, dude, anything in domestic,
it's interesting, too, because I'm thinking that in most cases, when a guy is domestically abused...
I know what you're going to say. Go.
He probably believes he had it coming.
Well, let me say...
I came home late, I did it again, or I got caught cheating, or I did something, and she came after me, and so I kind of deserved to have mine. And I don't know if that was a situation where, on the flip side, when a woman is domestically abused, it could be just because of the day he's having.
Yeah, but then a lot of times, and listen, the woman, a lot of times, this is the psychological abuse, will begin to believe,
that they're in the wrong.
It was my fault.
I
provoked him.
I'm not doing enough around here. I didn't do what he asked me to do.
Yeah. Or usually it's I provoked. Here's the usual. I provoked him. He has a really bad temper. Mm-hmm. I need to be better at not provoking him.
Yeah.
Which is, it's.
But in most cases, I think.
Yeah.
I think I can think of the 2 times I've been slapped in the face, and there was one particular situation where a woman shoved me out of a car going down the interstate.
Well, that moved you from the 1 in 4 to the 1 in 25, right?
Yeah.
Slap in the face is the 1 in 4.
Yeah. The slap in the face was kind of like, probably had it coming. In one case, it was just a crazy girl, and I ended up going out with her again.
Do you want to tell us about her more? Python? Bowling ball?
No.
Cadaver?
No, those are actually peaceful.
Tree?
No,
bear?
Those are actually peaceful.
Okay, go.
The kicking out of the car
that's like pushed you out
was
of the car.
one of the situations where there was a lot of resentment and things building up over the course of a couple of years. We had separated, we got back together again, and it was her way of just blowing the doors out.
Kicked you out, like said get out, or
no, like actually opened the car door and pushed me out of the car going down I-65.
How'd she do
She
that?
She wasn't driving fast. She was pulling off on the berm to get out of the car, and I was like, "What am I going to do?" It was dark and it was in the middle of nowhere. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That was after a night of drinking. We were watching some bluegrass music, and then basically pushed me out while the car was rolling. I didn't get hurt, and I was like, "Okay, this is over." And I got on my phone, called a cab, and then she came back around and picked me up. She's like, "Get in the car." I was like, "I'm not getting it." She's like, "Get in the car. We need to talk." And I was like, "Okay." And then it was fine after that, but that was the last time I ever saw that.
This is
I'm not going crazy.
This happened. I mean, again, you heard my statistics: 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 4 engage in physical harm. And I, we talk about the double standard. You just said the guy had it coming. He's like, well, I must have had it coming. You don't. I mean, when you knock someone's tooth out.
Yeah.
When you listen, we did the I'm blanking on it. The what's his face? The baseball player.
Yeah, Trevor Bauer.
2 black eyes.
Yeah.
That's
the thing is when someone it's like robbing somebody and firing a gun. When you're willing to fire the gun, you know that they're willing to fire it again. And so if someone has been punched in a relationship, regardless of the situation, right, you know what they're capable of.
That's right.
And if they're capable of taking your tooth out, which means that'd be a pretty good punch.
I was going to say, that's not a slap. That's not a push.
She's a young little skinny little whippersnapper, man. She must have railed off. Yes, I mean she's very attractive. But if someone is capable of punching you in the face, mm-hmm, then there needs to be some anger management and some counseling like now. Yes. And the fact that they were in Las Vegas to get married, to me, adds the whole new what?
Get married or knew their vows?
They were already married. They got married back in March, but I guess they were going to Vegas to have their friends. Maybe they eloped or something, and it was a small because of COVID.
Look, this is there is no okay here. There is no it's just a.
Yeah.
There is no, this is just something that they need to work out. If at any point, and here's the fine line, because we were talking about this, and this is what those statistics show: pushing, shoving, going to take a swipe out of anger. Mm-hmm. That happens in relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Do we count that as abuse? No, we count it as injury. Mm-hmm. Is it, if it happens one time out of anger, is it okay? No. But there is to me, again, there's a fine line between sort of this is like with your kids.
Yeah. Keep your hands to yourself.
You grab your kids by the chest. Is that okay? Was it, well, it's my child.
Or by the back of the neck.
Yeah. Well, so is that okay with your wife or your husband?
Yeah.
Should you let's get even more a little gray area. Your husband really pisses you off, or your wife really pisses you off, and they throw something at you.
Yeah.
That ever happen? I mean, we're not getting personal, but and maybe they don't throw it right at you, mm-hmm, but it's close enough. And let's just say it's not a knife.
Yeah.
Lamp.
Yeah, I think it starts with taking your anger out on something else.
Yep.
A wall, which I've done.
Yep.
One time, and hit the stud. I'll never do it again.
I was dumb.
I know you've thrown a shovel in your backyard, not particularly mad at your wife, but just
I was mad at my life.
You're mad at your life.
My backyard was big, and I did think about it. Although I tell you, listen, I was going to punch the wall. Yeah. Maybe this is the difference between you and me. I was afraid I'd hurt myself.
And at the time, this was the girl that kicked me out of the car. She was in the same room, so she knew that it was an indirect hit to her. I've never struck a woman. I just that's not even part of what I could possibly do.
But you displaced it in a violent way.
And then it moves up to the next step, throwing something at them. Coffee cup, bottle, or something
throwing
like that.
Throwing it, and let's get
in their general direction.
Yes.
Yes.
Because if you think about it, it definitely is in the general direction. If you talk to people about it, it's like, well, I was throwing it at them, but I didn't really want to hit them.
Yeah.
And then, if we're going to go this way, then it goes throwing something at them specifically, but it's not a potentially lethal.
Yeah. And I hate it for Dwayne Haskins because, I mean, a lot of people don't think that he's really stepped up to be the football player that he probably should be from a leadership standpoint. He had every opportunity to be the starting quarterback for the Washington Redskins, and he lost that possibility. The fact that he's still in the league is amazing to me. He's a backup quarterback. I don't know if he could win a football game for the Pittsburgh Steelers if Ben Roethlisberger goes out. But this is one of those distractionary type of things where it's like, oh, God. What did we just do here? Now you got your, and he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, as far as I know, he didn't do anything wrong.
We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but he was the one that was on the he was on the receiving end of a punch.
That's right.
And now you're having to deal with that, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, but listen, let me push back on you.
Yeah.
This is like I'm having marital problems, but I need to focus on my job.
Yeah.
Now it's to the extreme, but my point is, if this happens, this is not a distraction. This is you need to deal with this. Like, this is not and putting your picture on Instagram, again, you're a celebrity, putting a picture on it to some degree kind of holds people at bay. But no, dude, now you got two things you absolutely have to worry about. Your football career, not because of this, but your marriage.
Yeah.
Like, she punched you. Something happened that resulted in that makes your relationship absolutely toxic.
Yeah. Hold on. Do a live spot here.
Yeah, let me tell you about Woodhouse Day Spa. Because you know what? Whenever we talk about difficult topics, I always go to Woodhouse Day Spa because they are a sponsor that is all about goodness. Manicures, pedicures, facials, massages, 5,000 square feet of luxury. They're located up at the summit. They're also located in different places in the Southeast, Charleston, New Orleans. They are an amazing resort place. Call them today, 905-7676, or go to their webpage, birmingham.woodhousespas.com, birmingham.woodhousespas.com. Also, they're all over social media. You will never have an experience like that. And I promise you, if I'm there, I'll make sure I don't moan too much.
For people watching us on Facebook and listening to us on KCast Radio, our studios, our palatial K Communications and KCast Radio studios are in my home.
There's a portal to the residential
nicest
life.
studio I ever worked in. I've worked in radio forever, and there's a little portal off the right. And so when the kids get up, they come down, and family comes first.
They're very good. They're learning about being on.
Great, aren't they great?
Here's what they're learning. They're learning about when you're on, come in quietly.
Yeah.
I know your daughter is, instead of when we're on TV, she knows to sort of stay to the side.
Yep.
You know what's going to happen, though, don't you?
Right.
As they get older, because they're going to screw with you. When you're on TV, they're going to just stand over there.
Well, this is where I can screw with them, because not all my kids want to be on television or on radio.
I'm not talking about that one.
Yeah. Now, my daughter will come in, and she'll ham it up for like an hour and a half. Right. But for the most part, my kids are like, I don't want to be on. They get the hell out.
I made my kids go on TV.
You did?
Well, they were young.
It's great for numbers. When your kids show up on Facebook or
I had mine
Instagram,
as extras, as actors.
They're all over it. All right, one final story here, and
yes.
It's only because it's a psychologist that's chiming in on this, and I love to hear your thoughts on this.
A life coach or just a psychologist?
No, I went to a funeral last Saturday, and it was beautiful. It was great. The preacher there, it was at the what was the name of the church? It was a little Baptist church. It held 35. It had 35 seats in it. Really small place. Small. It was super.
Where
cool.
was it?
It was out near Dora. I can't recall it. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the church.
That's okay.
But it was super cool. Was it Brighton? Maybe Brighton. I don't know. It was like an hour
Jewish.
away.
I probably haven't been there.
And it was super cool. And the minister, the preacher, got up and said, "Listen, I'm gonna do something I normally don't do." He did a little preaching. And he's like, "Has anyone got anything they want to say about Craig Barnett, who is the friend of mine that passed away, had cancer, also known as Steven on Facebook?" And so we got up, and I got up and said a few words, and we all had different things to say, and there was a lot of tears, but there was a lot of laughter too. because we're celebrating his life. And it's funny why people laugh at funerals. Some people want to laugh at funerals just to kind of break the mold a little bit. Do you remember the Mary Tyler Moore episode, Chuckles the Clown?
Yes.
Where she couldn't stop laughing, and everyone thought she was being incredibly insensitive, and that turned out to be a celebration.
Yeah.
So laughing at a funeral, why some people find themselves giggling at the graveside, even when there's nothing really funny going on. Something that can be viewed as incredibly inappropriate, wholly insensitive, but there's a psychological reason that explains why people simply can't help it.
I don't know it.
Dr. San Abigail, chartered clinical psychologist, was trying to understand this natural phenomena reaction in some of us to gauge what we can do if we find ourselves in a similar situation. Why, for whatever reason, we're at a funeral, nothing funny is being said, and we find ourselves wanting to laugh.
That's interesting. Go on.
He said, a funeral is a situation that many people find very difficult emotionally with everything that it represents. An expression of laughter can be what we call a manic defense.
Oh.
You like
that? I love that.
You like that?
Oh, my God, that's brilliant.
Almost like a coping strategy, but,
yes.
but in a defensive way. Anything to divert the reality of what's happening and the reality of loss and human vulnerability at the end of a life.
That's genius.
A funeral is certainly not one of the places you want to be caught going through this defense mechanism.
Right.
With a seemingly endless loop of hysterical laughter, but it can happen, and indeed does happen all too often during difficult, somber experiences. It's enough to remind you of the 1975 episode of Mary Tyler Moore, in which Mary attends the funeral, Chuckles the Clown, and subsequently bursts into hysterical laughter. She attempts to stifle the laughter with a fake coughing fit, yet she simply cannot put a stop to the snickering. Although it's portrayed as a comical skit, the unwanted reaction rings true for many in real-life situations. The question remains, just how can you prevent this if you get struck down with a bad case of the giggles at the gravesite?
Leave.
A suggestion would be to notice and acknowledge what is going on internally, to self-monitor a bit about what's happening within you psychologically. Okay. Breathe through it and maybe wiggle your toes and concentrate on the feeling in your feet, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about that stuff.
No. Yeah, okay. That... I'm almost getting off on that. I've never heard of that.
I did this for you. Go do it.
It makes total sense. So think about it. We have all these defense mechanisms that are designed to protect us from difficult emotions. Yep. This is why, like in an argument, right, it's not me, it's you, right? When we're getting critical feedback, we displace, we try to justify it. Here's the reason why I did it. Because we do all... After a death or a tragic event, we have what's called sort of emotional numbness. We feel nothing. That's our psyche's way of saying, you're not ready for this. Okay. Now, sometimes it can be healthy, but like I said, like in a relationship, if you're constantly defensive, well, that's a defense mechanism, and you're pushing back, it can ruin your relationship. I never thought about it this way. Although what I was thinking, if you do,
is that a little bit like a fight and flight? Just a little bit.
It is. It's an unconscious. That's what I was thinking about. Think about it. Think about in a funeral, or even in a difficult medical situation. A loved one's on. We get kind of caught into the negative part, and then all of a sudden somebody will sort of tell a funny joke. It's we call it dark humor, right? Like, I don't want to say loved ones sitting there intubated in a coma, and everybody is just completely despondent, and someone will say, "Well, he always is quiet," and everybody's like, "It is a way to go. Okay, we're all getting way too deep here," and that one is like kind of semi-conscious. We do it to sort of break the uncomfortable. But what I haven't heard, which makes total sense, is as things are getting incredibly painful, like at a gravesite, it's like it's a natural fight or flight in that it happens automatically. We don't think something's funny.
Yeah.
It's like hiccups.
Yeah.
It's like, and the reason he's telling you to, like, the cognitive shit doesn't work, but think about what you're really but what does work, and I thought this is a great recommendation. The reason he's telling you to wiggle your toes, it's to ground yourself. Ground yourself meaning it's bringing you back to reality. Because what happens is you sit in this, particularly gravesite, you sit in it, people are talking, and any of us have been to a funeral, it's almost like this weird nightmare dream. It's kind of out of body. This is why people faint at it. And you kind of lose touch with reality a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've had this, kind of where am I? Why is this happening? And that's when the defense mechanism comes in. So wiggling your toes is just this reminder of, oh, right, I'm here at a funeral.
Yeah.
Genius.
You like that? I did that.
I was just trying to think if it ever happened any other time. Other times that it would happen. Because you get the giggles. I was thinking as a kid.
Does it happen in near-death experiences if you're in a plane going down? I mean, is it?
No.
I don't know.
I don't know. I've never been in a plane going down.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the giggles when you used to get busted as a kid. Like in the class. In class you get yelled at, and then you'd be like...
That would probably come across as disrespectful or uncaring to a teacher. Oh, you think this is funny,
you used to
man?
have the... that would be more I had the giggles.
You think I'm funny?
That's absolutely genius.
Yeah.
So the next time you find yourself uncontrollably laughing in the most inappropriate times, realize that it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
God, I love that.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm just...
if you're watching us on Facebook, and obviously you are, make sure you get the KCast Radio app. It's KCast Radio app. It's free. It's all classic rock and roll 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do the Kure and Klapow show every Monday through Friday between 6 and 9. We'll do it again tomorrow morning. We're going to be on Fox 6 coming up in about an hour at 9:30 this morning for our partnership with Fox 6 WBRC here locally in Birmingham. And, of course, you can also check out our big IBM show later on tonight, our mashup of high-tech and classic rock, which is heard worldwide. Get that KCast Radio app. It's super free and super cool, and you'll love the music on it. And don't forget to take care of our sponsors as well. Chris Doris, the State Farm team, got a 16-year-old who's got his first insurance policy. I'm going to have to pay for it. He's going to get his car next, but I'm going to let him run the minivan into the ground for a little while. And, of course, we did the Steer Clear program with the State Farm. You're getting the brand name of State Farm. By the way, Chris Paul has been just absolutely nothing the last 2 ball games. And I think of Chris Paul as a State Farm spokesman more than a basketball player, certainly in games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Where are you, Chris Paul? Long recognized the top 10 guy out of 18,500 agencies nationwide, Chris Doris' State Farm team. I love Chris because he's been doing insurance forever. His dad did it. His dad's dad did it. And he's like, listen, whenever you mention Chris Doris, make sure you mention Chris Doris' State Farm team because it is a team effort out there. I love them. 205-985-7799. Give me one more last spot.
I want to tell you about Vituro Health. Prostate cancer, men, 1 out of 9 men are going to develop prostate cancer. Vituro Health is one of our clients. They're developing new forms of treatment for prostate cancer. And guys, prostate cancer is very treatable, but you have to catch it early. The way you catch it is a blood test, which is called PSA, and you have your prostate exam. And the reason I'm saying this about going in and doing this, one of our good friends, Janice Rogers, who does not have prostate cancer, but posted something the other day about having a basal cell skin cancer removed from her from the top of her head. And one of the things we know because of the pandemic is that people have not been going in for screens. Yeah. And so, as a guy, as somebody who has had some prostate challenges myself, you got to go in. And if you develop prostate cancer, Vituro Health is there with new treatments. Please go get educated. Go to their webpage, VituroHealth.com. That's VituroHealth.com.
All right, cool.
Should I start laughing now?
Is it a funeral? Hey, thanks for watching us here on Facebook. We appreciate everyone tuning in. And if you wouldn't mind, please download that KCast Radio app and check us out every morning. And certainly listen to the KCast Radio app. It's a radio station. It's fantastic. It is classic rock the bone. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's killer. It's all the classic rock that Josh and I have picked out for this radio station. So check it out. You don't pick anything out.
I do. You just tell me I can't have it on there.
Exactly. Thanks for listening.